when I was a baby, so about a month old, I had an allergic reaction to a formula that lasted about 10, 11 months that made me incredibly ill. And until I found Irene in 2020, I had no idea that that first year of my life was dictating how I felt in my mind and body pretty much 24/7. Like my system so extremely was wired really from the beginning because of this and other relational traumas towards unsafety and danger and threat that throughout all of my childhood into my adulthood, not only was I dealing with all sorts of severe like physical illnesses and symptoms from like what I had been through as a baby, but also I was in such a high functional freeze that it was almost like anytime I tried to connect with another person in front of me, there was this like invisible wall in which I couldn't even take in their system. It's even hard to put into words, but there was just always such chaos and overwhelm internally that I felt like I was just constantly feeling either so anxious and panicky until really that would burn me out. And then I'd switch over to like so shut down, so exhausted, so depressed. Or a lot of times I'd feel both at the exact same time. And I'd just be operating in this like deer in the headlights, you know, like I'm sitting here in this meeting trying to talk or know what to say and I just can't do it. Or I'm so frozen. And so it was very difficult to say the least. And before I found SPSM in 2020, I had done at that point like 7 or 8 years of talk therapy, coaching, healing retreats, EMDR, and, you know, seen all sorts of therapists, specialists, psychiatrists, doctors, and nothing was holding. It was like I'd just get a little bit of relief or feel like I had a cognitive understanding of myself, but then my nervous system would just take over again and I would feel so unsafe and really not only unsafe, but not connected to my own body, not connected to others around me, not even connected to my environment. Like I could sit in a room all day and not know anything around me. I never, you know, noticed the trees, never noticed what was on my desk, just it's so much chaos. And so SPSM, and specifically not only SPSM, but the knowledge that it gives and you give, Irene, around this real early developmental piece was so life-changing for me because I had never heard anyone speak to it. It had never been explained to me. And in a span of a year, or well, really it's been, now 3 years, I've done it 3 times and then did the beta program in the spring. I went from thinking that my whole life that I was just like broken or not able to heal, like something was wrong with me, like I was losing my mind, especially in beginning of 2020. I sustained a head injury, and then that brought up so much of the early stuff, like within an instant, that I was in at that point really like extreme terror, I guess I would call it, and almost having these somatic flashbacks of like fear of death or feeling like I was dying. And if it weren't for you, Irene, explaining that these early memories can come up in this way, I probably would have done all these different things to push it back down. But instead, I used all the tools and everything we learned in SPSM to really, as weird as it sounds, like invite in the terror, like invite in all these massive emotions that were so horrifying. And so many people were saying to me, like, why aren't you fixing this? Why aren't you doing something to make this better or get rid of it? And it was truly because of this work that I knew if I don't allow this to finally come out, it will continue to dictate my life forever. And so it was, it's a hard journey. Like you were saying, Irene, this work is not simple or easy. And sometimes things have to feel so much more intense first. And for me, it was a very intense, like 1.5 years of, every day letting these massive emotions come to the surface. and somatic responses to those emotions. But I'm so grateful to say now it feels like finally I'm confidently so on the other side that I don't deal with daily terror or these big fluctuations in my system. Like it's very much this I'm just so confident in being able to stay regulated, and then if a stressor comes in, I can move through it with ease, and allow it to pass, and just allow, as other panelists have been saying, allow it to be there. And then in the allowing it to be there and having that capacity, it moves through so much more quickly. And then I'm back to baseline. And then I have the capacity to do things like actually feel close to others in relationships, feel connected to my own body, connected to my purpose. Truly everything has changed in my life in the last 3 years. And I most of all feel like I know who I am, which when you're in this constant level of chaos and overwhelm, you don't know. It's so hard to know what you want or what you desire or what you like to do. It's just survival nonstop. And so I think I'm most grateful for that, just feeling like, oh, this is me, this is Erin, this is what my personality is, and to be able to bring that, into the world, without getting so overwhelmed and shutting down and just pulling away. So, yeah, thank you for that, Irene, and this work.
Oh, you're so welcome, Erin. And your story really touches my heart, as all of yours, of course, do. But the piece about you being a baby and getting an allergy to your formula and essentially not being able to be nourished for 10 months is huge. And what often occurs when we have these developmental early traumas is because you did survive, people don't think about it. It's like, oh, she's fine because she survived that. And yet at this point, the normal medical community fails to address that kind of trauma. And it's just so beautiful to see your vibrancy. And like you said, you know who you are. I've seen you shift between the last time I saw you in spring and now tenfold. So there's just so much more color and life in your face, and it's wonderful to see. So thank you for continuing to do the work.